Hello and welcome back to the Pensive podcast. My name's Chloe and I'm the host of this podcast. I'm the founder of Pensive and I'm a writer, an artist, creative consultant, and I'm here to help you with your creative mind, creative spirit, creative path, and get organized and on track and feel like you can actually achieve stuff, because that's important, right? So today's episode is about tools, things you need, things you think you need, things you want, the tools for success, the equipment, the keys, all of that kind of stuff, those little buzzwords that we like to use. And this was inspired by the fact that I got a laptop. I just got a regular Windows laptop. I got a business laptop for like 80 quid off eBay. It was the best purchase of my life. The reason it was so exciting is because it was the concretization, is that the word? The solidification in my mind that I am pursuing writing as a vocation, like properly. And I'd already mentally decided to do this. I had said to myself, I'm going to write. And first, because I tend to just say things and then not follow up on them. So I said, okay, well, if you're going to write, you have to prove it to yourself. So I was going to the library and I was writing things, and then I came home and I would type it up on my computer. And this was my way of proving to myself that I was dedicated enough to do this, because it's so easy for me to say, I want to do this, I want to be this, and then not actually take any action towards doing that thing. And so after a month or few months or however long it was of consistently writing and making space for myself to write and getting into the flow of that, I thought, okay, well, I want to make this process completely frictionless for myself, because I work best when everything's just set up and I just sit down and I do the thing. Like I've systematized a lot of my things. And the writing, for a while, the biggest hindrance was typing up everything I'd written. I prefer to write by hand because I feel like there's less blockage between me and what I want to say. Because if I write things down immediately on a laptop, I feel like there's something telling me like it has to be perfect on the first go. So I try not to do that. And especially when I was like really just trying to get myself into it and practice and understand that what I'm doing is practice, before the perfection, before the refining. When it came to typing it up afterwards, because I have a computer that I set up for gaming, I have a mechanical keyboard. When I went to write everything up, I would just get hand cramp because the keyboard, the depth of the keys was just too deep. And it just wasn't fit for long periods of writing. And I didn't like having that break really in between the handwriting and the computer, because if I was at the library and I wanted to reference something in my writing, I couldn't quickly just search for it. I knew I needed this piece of equipment, not that I just wanted another piece of tech, because I just love technology and things and stuff. But I knew that I needed this piece of tech, this laptop, in order to help me to better my writing process. And I knew that I didn't need an expensive laptop with gadgets and gizmos and apps and so on. The purpose of this piece of equipment was for writing. And so when I got this laptop, I was so excited, because it was like another validation that yes, this is something that I really want to do for myself, because writing has always been important to me, but it's one of those things that I've pushed aside because I don't have time, or I have to focus on other things, or there's a myriad of reasons why I just didn't do it in the past. But getting the laptop was a feeling that I'm taking this seriously for myself, and I'm affirming to myself that this is something that I can do and I have been doing and I will continue to do. So I have this piece of equipment that is there to help me continue to do this thing that I've set my mind on doing. The first thing I did was decorate it, put stickers on it. And then the next most important thing was setting it up for writing specifically. So it only has things on it that I used for writing and shortcuts to other apps like Dropbox and Google Drive and Substack. And that's it. Everything is just for writing. So I know when I sit down and I use this piece of equipment, that's what I'm here to do. And I'm not distracted by other things, because I do have other things outside of writing. Obviously, everyone has responsibilities. I have other things that I have to do, but this thing is for writing specifically. And that's how I've trained my brain. And I know it works for a lot of people, that if you have equipment or a particular space or a particular tool or something that you associate with a specific activity, then it's easier to get into the flow of doing that activity. I made sure I went through this long process first because I'm very distracted by things and stuff and things to have. But I found that I've pared back on what I actually need and what I actually use. I've had to unlearn a lot of my predilections or my ideas of what is necessary for my creative process, because I am enticed by the idea of buying something in order to facilitate something else. But I've learned that paring back, starting from the minimum in order to understand your process at its base level is the best thing. So going back to my writing, what I've learned is that if I use a school exercise book and a very reliable pen, that is the most beneficial thing. These books are made for writing, first of all. So they have a proper format, proper line spacing, everything. And they're not thick. So when I go through it, I feel like I'm progressing. Whereas if I had a thick notebook, I would feel like, oh, I'm not writing enough, or I'm not going through the pages enough, or something like that. So there is a sense of inner validation and progress by making it through an exercise book. They're also, they come in A4, so you can get through a lot of your process on one page, and you can see everything on one page, which is really helpful, as well as the fact that it's very flimsy and cheap, and you can just buy them in bulk. Or as I do, I go to my local recycling shop center and I just get them for free. So nothing is wasted. And so I feel like I can mess up and I can practice and I can try, and nothing is set in stone when I'm writing it down. And there's no airs or need for perfection, because if I get like a nice notebook with a nice cover, whatever I write in there has to be beautiful and be presented well. And I just can't take that pressure when I'm trying to let my brain know it's okay to be imperfect. And the point of this is to practice and to do several drafts before we come to the refined product at the end. I don't want to call my writing a product, but yeah, you understand what I'm trying to say. And so it removes the feeling of needing to create art immediately from the jump. It doesn't need to be big or elaborate. It's allowing everything to just be the process that it needs to be. And in doing so, you're just letting everything go. Removing all of your inner blockages actually allows the good stuff to come through. Like the amount of times I've written stuff, I'm like, that's great, that I would just never have even thought of, because I wouldn't have allowed myself to get to that point of writing, because I would have been held back by, does this sound right? Or is this cringe? Or, things like that just hold ourselves back from actually expressing the work and saying what we want to say. And obviously I'm using writing as an example because that's my preferred medium. But as creatives, as artists, we all have our own processes where we can find ways to incorporate process into the work and not have it be perfect. Because even online now, I see a lot of visual artists presenting their sketchbooks. They are just gorgeous, gorgeous pieces of art and fully realized pieces of art. And I was under the impression a sketchbook is just full of scribbles and things being crossed out, and works in progress, or like a hand that has 6 fingers because you can't quite figure out how to draw hands. These are my ideas of raking through the underbelly of like scratching and trying to figure stuff out. But because of the aestheticized nature of Instagram, where we feel the pressure to present the process, especially, it needs to be stunning in visually in order for people to value it. The process isn't always beautiful and well put together and timely, and the functionality of the tool is what you make it. So whether that's an exercise book or a sketchbook, you can assign it a certain place in your process to give it a certain role and meaning. The worst part of, I think, where we are currently at or heading is that there is no space for the mess, and the tools that we use are using us instead of us using them. We are being inundated with productivity apps and tools and writing tools and all these kinds of things. Like, you need this specific thing if you want to be the best at this skill. And I think we have to remind ourselves, like, people of years past and people who don't have the financial access to these things have made their art and made their creative thing without these tools. The tool doesn't maketh the art. Probably nicer. Like, I'm not going to say that my laptop didn't make the process smoother. It did. But did I get the most expensive laptop? Did I get the most? No, I got recycled thing from eBay that if I didn't have the laptop, would I have stopped writing? Would I have not been a good writer or not tried to be a good writer? No, like, I would still have tried, would still do the work. And so my fear is that when we want to become better at something or want to enter into something, we feel the need to buy into it. This is something that I did right at the beginning of bookbinding as well. I did an evening course, but the instructor was very adamant that you only need like these very basic things. It was like a bone folder, a ruler, needle and thread. The point is, once you become more skilled and more consistent and more involved with these kinds of things, that's when, if you are wanting to become some sort of artisan or better at the craft, then yeah, you'll probably need a better tool set. But at the beginning, at the outset, you don't need all the accoutrements, all the unessential things, because you are still figuring out your own process. And maybe the extra things will just become a burden to you because you feel like you have to use them. But in fact, it's not part of how you construct and how you put things on the page or how you put a book together. And so it's often better to use what we already have around us, not only because it's cost effective, but we can find different ways of repurposing what it is that we already have. As I was writing the piece that will accompany this podcast, I was reading this article about digitization of technology and how it's a good thing that these technologies help to collapse and manage time. And we have tools that track time, and we have tools, many tools and many apps for various things. And I just think that each app or each technological tool is created with one very specific niche thing in mind that it's supposedly supposed to help us with. I know, as a frequent app downloader and deleter, that I already have other things on my phone that already assist me with what it is that I need assistance with. This app is shinier. This app claims to have more tools within the app. And so you download this app that has many tools that you don't use because it's far too many and it's not streamlined to the purpose of your life or even the app. Sometimes they just add things that you just don't need. And on top of that, we're using phones that are not only to call people and text people, also to listen to music on, and as an alarm, and as a torch, and as a camera. It's already too much. It's already too much. And that's why I guess some people are going back to flip phones. I also want to go back to the days of flip phones. In general, I want to go back to the days of choice. Does anyone remember when you could walk into a phone shop and you weren't greeted with 10,000 bricks? And there was like a flip one, and one that had this, and one that looked like this. And there was choice, and it was magical, and they all slid up and down differently. And everyone in your school had a different phone. And it was really cool when someone could play MP3s that they'd bought online from their phone in this really tinny speaker. And everyone would listen on the bus to the really crappy Jason Derulo song over and over again because we couldn't afford a different song. You know, we didn't have Spotify. You had access to everything. Obviously, there's good and bad points, you know, better or worse things. Like, I like having access to a lot of music, but do I need all of the music all of the time? And do I need notifications popping up on my phone all of the time telling me to listen to more music because someone's told me that someone's released a new album? Like, I don't need that. I just want to listen to the same music that I was listening to at 14 over and over again. Like, leave me alone. And so the tools that are made with our benefit in mind, they are now digitized to take up a lot of our time and our attention and serve more as a distraction than as help. I think what I'm finding is just that the process is so overwhelming, and I'm being told to get a lot of stuff that I don't need, to the point where I almost bought a typewriter. And it's just funny because supposedly this year is the year of analog, and we're all going back to the good old days where we weren't so online. And so supposedly buying a typewriter is a good thing. But then I had to remind myself, Chloe, you have a laptop, you have a computer. What do you need a typewriter for? Apart from to be horrendously pretentious and make clicky clacky sounds. And then you just go back to the issue that you had with the mechanical keyboard. And then you'd have to buy the specialized ink for the typewriter. And who knows when they're going to stop making that? Because that's the other thing with analog. You can only hope that they trend for so long that you can still buy the thing, or they don't skyrocket in price, like the price of film. And the price of Portra 400 is crazy. Like, it's very expensive. It's the best film, but why is it so expensive? And sure, there's a lot of, because this is the other thing, there's a lot of allure to analog, because there's kind of this, like I was talking about the phones and the tinny speakers, there's a lot of nostalgia for this time gone past where things were supposed to be better. So I think that's all wrapped up with the technology of the era. People seeking flip phones because they view 2000s media and they want to be part of that era where it seemed so carefree, or buying a BlackBerry because of millennial optimism. I still don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Analog is being seen as the kind of antidote to this overwhelming digitization. But again, it falls into buying into it and buying all the things, buying iPods or buying a flip phone and then buying etc., etc. And if that's the life that you want to lead and you will commit to it beyond this year, the year of analog, then by all means, go ahead and buy your iPod. But buying an iPod and buying various things is not solving the problem at its core. The tool can only do so much when you yourself haven't made the steps to change your own mind or settle into your own rhythm about what it is that you need to actually do. Because if I hadn't mentally made the decision, okay, I'm going to be a writer, before buying the laptop, I don't think the laptop would have been any use to me. It would just be sitting there and I would have added everything under the sun onto it and probably overloaded it. But because I decided, okay, first I'm going to do this thing and this is the tool to help me do this thing, then that's when the tool became useful. And sure, I would love to go analog. I would love to throw my iPhone in the bin. At the point we are at now with technology and such and things, we need it for tickets, we need it for email, we need it just to move around the world. Everything, like some menus in restaurants need QR codes for some reason. We've become so reliant on these tools, and going back to that's what my concern is, where the tools are so enmeshed into our daily lives, we can't imagine a world without them, and they end up using us, and we have to forfeit our independence from all these things that I'm using. We can't separate ourselves from them. We rely on them in order to achieve certain things. The same rationale can and should be applied to productivity methodologies, productivity tools. I went through my fair share of productivity tools and methods and research, and I learned a lot. Then I learned that it was too much. I learned it was far too much. At the end of the day, the most important tool for productivity is time, giving yourself time and space and approaching projects with a clear mind. That's always going to be the best starting point before you engage with any kind of methodology, any kind of tool that claims that it can overcome these things is, in my opinion, ineffective. The most important thing that you can always carry with yourself is your mindset. Whether that's being fired up to work on something, it's whatever you need to do to properly enter a project or re-enter a project. And it's from that basis that then you can select the correct, for you, productivity tools and methodologies. And this is why when I talk about my method, the NPR method, I talk about it very specifically, like in a way that you just pick and choose what parts of it work for you. I'm not here to say that this is the be all and end all, and if you don't follow this, then you're a loser. Like that's not the point of it. And I'm like, I would never say that this thing in its entirety is going to work for every brain in every human around the world. Everyone has things that their brain reacts to and does not react to. Sure, there are commonalities. Sure, there are things that a lot of people do ascribe to and can understand. But even within that, there are niches and difference and divergences. Like, these things need to be accounted for. This is just a final note to say that productivity is not the be all and end all. It's not the most important thing that should be aspired to. Being productive is good in the case that it is helping you to get to a place that is emotionally fulfilling for you, that you feel that the things that you want to do and achieve in this life are actively working towards. It's an activity that's done with pure intention and a healthy mind and a rested brain, and it's done alongside your own personal values. But yes, this is something that I go into when I talk about the NPR method, and I talk about productivity in particular, because it's something that a lot of people buy into when they feel like my life isn't going anywhere. I have these goals. I've made no move to actually do anything about it. Then this will be the thing to help me achieve that. And being productive is great. Being productive is only great when there are certain factors in place that you can understand in order to be productive. And this is why in my method, the productivity aspect is balanced with mindfulness and relaxation. These things are just as important in your productive life and your organized, like how to organize yourself, as well as being stereotypically quote unquote productive. So I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. That's everything I have to say about the tools that you need or don't need. If you would like to know more about my thoughts and also know more about my method, which I do invite you to look at because I feel like it's quite useful, but again, pick and choose what you want. Please visit my website, pensive.studio, and for the accompanying think piece about tools, please visit Pensive Studio on Substack. I do have an Instagram as well, which is at pensive.studio. And if you're in London, I also do workshops that I post about on Instagram and on the Substack. So if you want to come see me and talk to me in person about productivity and stuff, you should definitely check that out. Thank you for listening and have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.